In the pitch blackness of June 2nd, 1863, 3 federal gunboats quietly slipped down the Combahee River in South Carolina. Standing on the deck of the lead vessel, the John Adams, was a tiny 5-foot-tall African-American woman. As the ships approached the Confederate outposts, she gave the signal to begin a daring, pre-dawn assault. Rebel troops fired from the banks, but the gunboats pushed forward, landing troops and initiating a massive raid. Within hours, they destroyed millions of dollars in Southern infrastructure, cotton, and foodstuffs. More than 750 enslaved people rushed the riverbanks, desperate to reach the Union ships. This was the first and only major military operation in United States history planned and led by a woman. Her name was Harriet Tubman, and she was not just a symbol of freedom, she was a tactical genius. To understand how Tubman became a Union military commander, we must look to the swamps of Maryland's eastern shore. Born into slavery as Araminta Ross around 1822, she endured decades of brutal labor and physical abuse. In 1849, facing the threat of being sold further south, she made a fateful decision to escape. Stealing away into the night, she had no maps, no compass, and no outside help for the first leg of her journey. She navigated through dense forests and treacherous wetlands by reading the natural world. She followed the North Star, using its steady light to guide her northward through the darkness. She read the moss growing on the north side of trees to confirm her direction when the night sky was overcast. She waded through freezing rivers and swampy waters to throw tracking dogs off her scent. Upon crossing the line into the free state of Pennsylvania, she recalled feeling an overwhelming sense of glory. But she immediately realized she was a stranger in a strange land, and her family was still enslaved. Armed with her new freedom, Tubman resolved to return south and guide others out of bondage. She became a conductor on the Underground Railroad, which was not a physical rail line, but a highly organized, covert network. The network relied on station masters, sympathetic individuals who hid fugitives in their homes, barns, or cellars. Conductors, like Tubman, traveled directly into slaveholding territory to gather and lead escapees. Safe houses, known as stations, were strategically placed about 10 to 20 miles apart. Vigilance committees in northern cities acted as financial and logistical backers, providing food, clothes, and rail tickets. Every operation required absolute trust, as a single informant could destroy an entire local network. Communication was handled via coded letters, using railway terminology to mask their illegal activities. Tubman mastered these mechanics, building an unparalleled record of operational success. Over the course of 19 trips, she personally rescued dozens of people without losing a single passenger. Tubman's flawless record was the result of strict operational security, or OPSEC. She never operated blindly, planning every route, safe house, and backup plan with meticulous care. She conducted almost all of her rescue missions during the freezing winter months. The long, dark winter nights provided maximum cover, keeping slave catchers indoors by the fire. She consistently scheduled her departures for Saturday nights. Since newspapers did not print on Sundays, runaway notices could not be published until Monday morning. This critical window gave her escape parties a 36-hour head start before active pursuit could begin. She used coded spirituals, like "wade in the water," to broadcast instructions across plantations. Singing "Steal Away" was a signal to her group that the time had come to slip into the woods. She even used animal calls, mimicking the hoot of an owl to warn her passengers of nearby danger. Under Tubman's command, discipline was absolute and obedience was non-negotiable. She carried a small revolver, not only to defend against slave catchers, but to enforce group security. If an escaped person panicked and wanted to turn back, they threatened the lives of the entire party. A returning fugitive could be tortured into revealing the names of conductors and safe house locations. To prevent this, Tubman established a strict and unyielding policy for anyone who showed weakness. She would point her pistol at the hesitant passenger and deliver her famous ultimatum: "You go on or die." She made it clear that a dead runaway could tell no secrets, but a living capture would betray them all. This was not cruelty. It was the cold, necessary calculus of a military commander in the field. Her passengers understood the stakes, and every single one chose to press forward. Through this iron discipline, she kept her network secure and her passengers safe. Tubman was a master of disguise, using deception to slip through high-risk areas unnoticed. She often dressed as an elderly, frail woman, wrapping herself in heavy bonnets and shawls to hide her features. On one occasion, she carried a pair of live chickens, releasing them and chasing them to create a distraction when she spotted a former master. Knowing that slave catchers looked for illiterate runaways, she once picked up a newspaper and pretended to read it intently. This clever performance successfully diverted the suspicions of onlookers who knew the runaway Tubman could not read. She hired black decoys to write fake letters or walk in opposite directions to mislead tracking parties. She regularly boarded trains heading south rather than north, knowing that pursuers would never check southbound carriages. By understanding the racial biases of her enemies, she used their own assumptions against them. She weaponized psychology, turning the slaveholders' arrogance into her greatest tactical advantage. Her actions showed that the war against slavery was fought with intellect as much as physical bravery. In 1850, the geopolitical landscape of the struggle shifted dramatically with the passage of the Fugitive Slave Act. This federal law mandated that all escaped slaves, upon capture, be returned to their masters, even if found in free states. It deputized ordinary Northern citizens and federal marshals, turning the entire North into a hunting ground. Northern states were no longer safe havens, and the Underground Railroad had to adapt to this dangerous new reality. Tubman responded by extending her rescue routes all the way to Canada. She established her new base of operations in St. Catharines, Ontario, a growing community of self-liberated people. Getting passengers across the suspension bridge at Niagara Falls became her ultimate tactical objective. She had to navigate increased surveillance, hostile patrols, and professional slave hunters at every border crossing. Despite the immense danger, she successfully guided dozens of refugees into British territory where slavery was illegal. Her resilience proved that no federal law could stop a determined, organized resistance. The stories of Tubman's tactical brilliance are a testament to the power of organized resistance. If you want to support our mission of sharing these untold historical truths, please subscribe to Unshackled History. Leave a comment below with your thoughts on Tubman's strategy and hit the like button to help others find this video. Now, let's explore how Tubman took her tactical skills from the Underground Railroad directly into the battlefields of the Civil War. When the American Civil War broke out in 1861, Tubman saw an opportunity to strike a final, decisive blow against slavery. She traveled to Union-controlled portions of South Carolina, offering her services to the federal military. Recognizing her unique skills, Union officers authorized her to recruit a covert intelligence network. She selected 8 local Black Scouts and river pilots who knew the waterways and territories intimately. Disguised as a simple field hand or laundress, she moved freely through Confederate lines, gathering intelligence. Her scouts mapped the positions of Confederate outposts, troops, and artillery batteries. They carefully marked the locations of underwater mines and torpedoes placed in the local rivers. She interviewed newly escaped people, extracting vital details about Confederate troop movements. This intelligence was compiled and delivered directly to Union commanders, forming the basis for naval operations. Tubman's spy ring became one of the most effective intelligence-gathering operations in the entire Southern Theater. The culmination of Tubman's intelligence work came on the night of June 1, 1863. Armed with precise maps of Confederate mines, she boarded the Union gunboat John Adams alongside Colonel James Montgomery. She directed the pilots around the hidden explosives, ensuring the ships passed safely through the dark waters. As dawn broke, Union soldiers landed at key plantations, setting fire to warehouses, bridges, and Confederate supplies. The steam whistles of the gunboats blew, signaling to the local enslaved population that the liberators had arrived. Hundreds of people rushed to the riverbanks, carrying children, pigs, and whatever belongings they could hold. Confederate troops fired on the crowds, but Union gunboats returned fire, shielding the fleeing refugees. Tubman stood on the deck, singing hymns and helping coordinate the evacuation of the chaotic crowd. Over 750 people were liberated in the raid, with many of the men immediately enlisting in the Union Army. It was a brilliant, textbook amphibious assault that crippled the local Confederate war effort. Despite her extraordinary service as a scout, spy, nurse, and commander, Tubman's contributions were quickly marginalized after the war. The federal government refused to pay her regular military wages, offering only meager compensation. For over 30 years, she petitioned the government for her veterans' pension, facing bureaucratic indifference and racism. To survive, she worked as a domestic and sold brick and root vegetables from her home in Auburn, New York. She eventually received a small widow's pension after her husband's death, and later a pension for her service as a nurse. Undeterred by her financial hardships, she turned her energy toward helping other vulnerable people. She became an active voice in the women's suffrage movement, advocating for the voting rights of Black and white women alike. She established the Harriet Tubman Home for aged and indigent Negroes, donating her own land to support it. She lived out her final years in this home, caring for the elderly until her own death in 1913. She was buried with full military honors, though the nation she served had long neglected her achievements. For generations, popular history has framed Harriet Tubman through a passive, almost mystical lens. She is often depicted as a gentle Moses, guided by divine whispers rather than operational planning. This framing minimizes her agency, her intellect, and her extraordinary tactical skill. Modern historians are working to dismantle this myth, reclaiming her true title as a military commander. She was a logistics expert who calculated food supplies, travel times, and safe-house capacities. She was a master of counterintelligence, psychological warfare, and military reconnaissance. Her decisions were based on rigorous analysis of environmental factors, enemy habits, and geopolitical shifts. To call her a passive figure is to deny the brilliant strategic mind that outmaneuvered slaveholders and Confederate generals. Harriet Tubman was not just a survivor, she was one of the premier operational tacticians of 19th century America. It is time we recognize her not just as a historical icon, but as a general of the resistance. Harriet Tubman's legacy is a testament to what a single, determined strategist can achieve against overwhelming odds. Thank you for watching this episode of Unshackled History and helping us bring these stories to light. Don't forget to subscribe, click the notification bell, and share this video with fellow history enthusiasts. Join us in our next episode as we continue to uncover the stories of those who fought for freedom.